Okay, I found out we're live, which is better than not being alive. But this is Lance Luke here, Martin Pea, Ask the Building Expert webinar series. And we got an interesting topic, um, just venting. So some people get upset and I say, well, go ahead and vent, that's fine. And we're talking about venting in buildings. And thank you everyone for joining us on our Zoom platform. We're also restreaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And our topic is about vent cleaning. That's why it's just venting, about vent cleaning, keeping your home safe, clean, and fire-free. And this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection, which is a full-service building inspection construction management company located in Honolulu. And let's see what else we have here. Okay, so now the topic we're talking about of vent cleaning applies to single family houses, any kind of buildings, from single family houses, duplexes, multifamily apartment buildings, condominium buildings, high-rise townhouses, restaurants, shopping centers, hotels, you name it, it's all included. So we're gonna dive right into it. Now, what is the importance of vent cleaning, and why do we want to prevent hazards? Well, the main issue is health and safety. If your vents clog, it could lead to bad air, bad air quality. It could lead to fires. It could lead to mold growth, bacteria growth, and things like that. So there have been actual cases of fires being started because of clogged vents, and then also mold growth and bad indoor air quality because of the venting issue. Now, what are the types of vents in homes or um, restaurants, hotels, so forth? There's actually four main types. There's a bathroom vent, a kitchen vent, a dryer vent, and there's actually another vent for air conditioning. And if you have a bathroom in a house where there's windows, then you don't really need a mechanical vent system. If you don't have any windows in your bathrooms, then you do need a ventilation system, circulation to pull the bad air out. So that's why when you go to commercial facilities such as restaurants, office buildings, so forth, that they don't have any windows in the bathrooms, they always have to have a vent system. Okay. Your vents have to be working for one thing, and then they have to be inspected and clean. Uh, Very important. If it's not working, it's not doing anything, right? It's even causing more of a problem. And if it's not clean, and you got a buildup of lint and grease and all that, that's also problematic. Or if the vent's broken, like you have a dryer vent, vent holes that's separated. Now you have lint blowing all over the place, maybe into your house or into your wall, and not going outside of your house. What are the standards for venting? Well, there's different building code standards, safety standards. Let's talk about safety standards and legal requirements for ventilation and airflow. Most building codes have specific requirements for vent installation, ensuring proper airflow to reduce risks such as fire and mold growth. Common requirements include the size, placement, and type of vent materials used. The building codes often mandate regular inspections to maintain functionality and safety. And there's certain departments that are regulating the requirements, such as the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, your State Department of Health, there's OSHA, Office of Safety. There's also the National Fire Protection Association. There's International Fire Code that regulates vents in, say, restaurants. You want to prevent a lot of grease from building up, and it has to be clean because otherwise that's a major fire hazard. I know there's a bunch of building managers, site managers, resident managers, property managers, either rental or condo association property managers that are on this webinar, owners of buildings, general managers. There's also architect, engineers, some attorneys, contractors. Well, this information applies to everybody. But I called it tips for managers because normally we get, most of the time, the majority of people watching are some kind of managers, property managers, site managers, resident managers, general managers of condominiums or hotels and that sort of thing. Also, restaurant managers is good. Um, Here's some good tips. Compliance ensures reduced liability, and you want to make sure that you conform with your insurance requirements. Schedule routine inspections to ensure vents meet code requirements. Implement a maintenance plan that includes periodic cleaning and functional checks. And then train your maintenance teams on OSHA and EPA, health department safety standards to uphold safety during vent maintenance. Now, let's go back to, let's say there wasn't any code requirement at all. Okay, what do you do in that case? Do you like, oh, because the code doesn't require it and we're not going to follow anything? No, the right way to do things, the best practice would be to use common sense. So common sense would dictate that you cannot have a building and not at least inspect your ventilation system, right? So you use common sense, plus you follow what the requirements are, and then you're following, best practice, and that's the right way to do things. That's the way to keep you out of trouble. So let's talk about building code specifics now. There's ventilation standards, and most building codes specify that the vents must be installed to ensure adequate airflow, proper exhaust, and prevent backdrafts. Backdrafts are if the vent system is sucking the air out, a backdraft would actually push air back in to the room that it's supposed to be taking the air out. That's called a backdraft. And a lot of condominium buildings and hotels, motels, the vent system is connected together. So you have many rooms, bathrooms, all connected to a common area vent, and you have a kitchen, maybe connected to other units together, and the vents are all connected to a main line in the building. So if one particular unit, their exhaust system does not work, then they're not taking the air out of that one unit. Likewise, if something's wrong with the exhaust system, it might take the odors of one unit and spread it over to other units. And we had that situation before. which is may or may not be a good thing. I'll give you an example of property in Waikiki. A condo building called me and said, every time around dinner time, uh, I got all these weird odors coming into my unit. And it's like, well, what kind of weird odors are you talking about? Oh, I don't know. It's like smells like dead fish or something. And um, there was a lot of Asian people that live in this particular building, and this uh, tenant was not Asian. Okay, they were Caucasian, so they're not used to, the Asian smells of fish and kimchi, Korean preserved cabbage and maybe Vietnamese or Chinese food. So while they're cooking, anyway, the bottom line is the ventilation system, the kitchen didn't work. So um, it was, I guess there was some backdrafts and some uh, ventilation in the building. So when one unit was cooking, the other units down the line could smell, whatever the cooking odors were. So it wasn't a good sight. Now, if everyone down the line was Asian, then they're used to the smell, right? But if they're not, it becomes a problem. Okay, so that's a backdraft issue. The building code also includes requirements for vent sizing and placement in relation to other building components. So if the building's brand new, the ventilation system is designed by a mechanical engineer to operate efficiently. Okay, now the building code applies to a new building. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. The building code says that you have to have adequate airflow, proper exhaust, and etc. Now, let's say the building is old, okay, 60 years old, 50 years old. Does that building still have to comply with the building code? The answer is yes, although they're not doing inspections all the time. So if the original building code when the building was brand new said that your ventilation system has to have adequate airflow and proper exhaust, okay, what does that mean? That means that you have to have adequate airflow at the time the building was new up until today. So if somehow your vent is clogged or dented or your mechanical fan doesn't work, the question is that considered adequate airflow and proper exhaust? The answer is no, right? So therefore, in that particular instance, that building does not apply, does not conform the ventilation system doesn't conform to the building code. Okay, so that would be a violation, in addition to a health um, violation. Okay, so building and health and also a safety issue. Some more information on building code. There's material specifications. The codes often mandate the use of fire-resistant materials for certain types of vents, such as dryer vents, to minimize the risk of fire spread. Now, how many of you live in single-family homes and you have your dryer vent, okay, and then you have the hose? How many of you, if you look in the back of your dryer, your hose is this white plastic accordion looking thing made out of white plastic. How many of you have that? Okay, believe it or not, that's not in conformance with the building code. The building code doesn't allow that type of material. Why? Um, you could have holes in the plastic. Your plastic could kind of melt or disintegrate, and then you don't have proper venting. So the proper type of vent would be uh, a metal looking type or just like a metal pipe or something like that. Okay. Risk of fire spread. Also, the old vent, the accordion type with the plastic, sometimes it tends to kink and then the wires get twisted or bent. And then when that happens, your dryer, the lint from the dryer starts getting clogged into your vent hose. And then what happens when it keeps getting clogged and there's no space for any hot air to go out? Now it starts building up back into the dryer. Your dryer will overheat and then a fire starts. And when a fire starts because of overheating and you have all that lint there from the dryer, man, that lint is like a perfect fire starter. Have you ever like saw a bunch of lint catch on fire? The thing is like so fast. It burns so fast and it's hard to put out. Okay. So you want to minimize the risks of fire by getting your vents clean. There's also clearance requirements too. Vents should maintain appropriate clearances from flammable surfaces and insulation to reduce fire hazards. But more so in commercial buildings like condominium, high rises, apartment buildings, hotels, and so forth. Okay. The clearance requirement for a single family home or duplex it's easier because you only have, your unit or the other unit to worry about. You don't have a multi-stack building where you have 100, 200, 300 plus units all in the same building. And most of them, all share some kind of common vent feature. I mentioned before OSHA and EPA guidelines. So OSHA's role is in worker safety during, vent cleaning and maintenance. EPA's focus is on maintaining clean air and environmental standards. Now, there's also the State Department of Health that has other requirements, and then the local building code, the building jurisdiction has other requirements too. So you got not only one office to contend with, you may have 4 or 5 different departments and different divisions in city, county, state, federal that all have to do with the vent issue. Preventing fires through regular vent cleaning. Recommended frequency for vent cleaning. For example, your dryer vents every 3 to 6 months. And there's do-it-yourself tools, sponges, and some kind of feather duster that you could clean the outside grill of the vents. But then how do you clean the inside, right? How do you even remove that vent cover? That's when you got to call in professional services, professional vendor, and contractors, and people who do this for a living. They're specialized. So a lot of times you're not going to want to do it on your own, right? If you live in a single family house, yeah, it's easier. But if you're in a condominium building, townhouse, it's hard to do your own vent cleaning because a lot of times the main outlet of the vent stack is on the roof of the building. And a lot of times, in most cases, you're not even allowed to go on the roof. Sometimes it's not even safe. Okay, so just be aware. And if you live in a condo, it's the responsibility of the condominium association to make sure the main vent stacks are clean. And you may be responsible for your own vent in your own kitchen or laundry or bathroom, but sometimes it's very hard to get to. Okay, so just be aware of that. How about some case studies and real world examples? Here's one. Dryer overheats and catches fire due to a clogged vent. I know several years ago in Hawaii Kai, a townhouse, a dryer vent hose was clogged, but they kept using the dryer and the dryer overheated and a fire started. Now, here's something to look at, something to be aware of. If you keep throwing your wet clothes in a dryer and you put it on a dry cycle, and then it finishes a cycle and you go and check and the clothes is still not dry, and you got to run it another cycle, and it takes like super long. Something must be wrong with your dryer. Maybe. Maybe the heating element doesn't work or doesn't work too good. Or it could be that if your dryer is working okay, your vent hose is clogged, right? And so that's what's happening. So be sure to check it out and just not keep trying to dry your clothes and then figure, and I don't know what's wrong with it, right? Because if your vent hose is clogged with lint, that could be a overheating condition, and you don't want your dryer to catch on fire. What happens if your dryer catches on fire? Then it just leads to your whole house burning down, right? So that's very important, your dryer. Also, bathroom vents, okay? Sometimes the bathroom vent can actually catch on fire. And guess what? If there's a spark or something and you have that vent packed with lint, right? That lint is just gonna catch on fire into a big flame, and then your unit and all the other units in a condo may end up burning too, catching on fire. So that's very important to make sure that your vents are clean. Okay, so dryer vent, bathroom vent. Um, here's a clogged dryer vent. Okay, here's a picture of that. Also, a lot of townhouses, you have your bathrooms and your dryer may be connected to a main vent that leads up to the roof. Okay, so that's when a professional vent cleaning company would go up with a commercial grade huge vacuum, and that's what they use. They take the cover off the top and they stick their hose down and clean the vent in each stack. And then when they do that, it's taking all the lint and debris that's stuck in the vent chase and making it cleaner. When it's cleaner, it's safer, less fires. And I briefly just breezed through that fairly fast, but let me talk about the other type of vent is a kitchen. Now, if you're in a restaurant, you have these commercial grade grills, right? And above it, you have a vent system. And similar to the kitchen vent in your own house, except it's bigger and it's commercial grade. Um, there's a requirement that in that vent hood, you have a fire sprinkler. Okay. Why? Well, because in the past, a lot of fires in restaurants started at the kitchen. And what happens is that kitchen vent filter gets clogged with grease, and it's so clogged that the grease starts dripping down onto the griddle, and the griddle, the stove is hot, it's live, and then what happens if you got too much grease, right? It'll just start a fire. The fire would actually start also inside that hood that's laden with grease and just go right up through the roof of the building. And next thing you know, the whole place is on fire, including the roof of the building. And so I've inspected many kitchen vents, even going on the roof of the building. And the last one I inspected was in Waikiki. There was a Denny's restaurant and inside a hotel. I went up on the roof and it was a sunny day, so I thought there was like ponds of water that I was seeing in a mirage. As I got closer, the ponds of water was actually ponds of oil and grease. It was dark black. So can you imagine if There was a fire in the kitchen of the restaurant, and the fire spread through the whole uh, vent system up to the roof, and then the roof caught on fire. Next thing you know, the whole hotel building is on fire, right? So it's pretty scary. So I had to take pictures and write up a report telling them that it's a fire hazard. And what happened was their insurance company required them to provide evidence of cleaning, maintenance cleaning, and then also evidence that there was a contract signed between the restaurant and the vent cleaning company to come every 6 months or 12 months or whatever. And I mean, common sense, right? If you're the insurance company, you would want that because if there was a fire, they're gonna have to pay out the claim, and you may be talking millions of dollars in damages. Okay, so um, in a condominium setting, you should have either in your operating budget or reserve um, some kind of allowance for vent inspection and cleaning, and that has to be done periodically. You can't say, "Oh, we're gonna inspect and clean 10 years from now," right? Because 10 years from now may be too late. So if you have an inspection done and everything looks good, okay, then you can clean the next year, right? So that should be part of ongoing consideration for condominium building or condo association. So that's the conclusion. Just be safe, have your vents inspected and cleaned all the time, right? Don't wait too long because we don't want to see your name in the news because there was a fire. So before I get to the Q&A, I'm gonna tell you about, okay, so let me tell you that if you haven't been a fan of ours and watched the webinars we've been doing this for about 2 to 3 years now, and we've covered almost every single topic about buildings and construction. And we covered roofing, concrete spalling repair, cast iron drain piping, hurricane ties, a whole bunch of stuff. And um, we had the idea to record all of our webinars. So all of our webinars are on our website that you can go to and watch anytime, share it with your associates, friends, and I guarantee there has to be at least one or two helpful tips in each webinar, um, because that's the way that we designed it, right? So that's what you miss, but you can still watch it. And then what's coming up? Let me look at my schedule here and just, go down briefly. So we're going to talk about in the coming months. Here's topics: lead pipes, a hidden threat, history, hazards, and the path to clean water. Okay, that's in May. Also in May, from stable to fragile, the concrete crisis uncovered. I'll be talking about the concrete situation in different states of the United States, and people really aren't aware that there's a huge concrete problem, meaning that concrete's just crumbling and deteriorating before our eyes. And then next, cesspools in Hawaii, the history, EPA fines, and the 2050 deadline for conversion of cesspools into alternate method of capturing wastewater. And then coastal erosion around the world, um, talking about vanishing shores in different areas of the world. And then reading and understanding soil reports. Then after that, I'll be talking about a separate webinar about the Florida building collapse. And then what happens after flood, remediation versus reconstruction, knowing the right approach. And then here's something interesting. When my wife and I were in France, there's the Eiffel Tower, and I was playing tourist, but I was also playing construction engineer. So I decided to write um, a report and then give a webinar on the Eiffel Tower engineering marvel and the battle against corrosion. So believe it or not, there's a huge problem in France, in Paris, regarding preserving the Eiffel Tower. I'll be talking about that. Um, and then expert witness in construction defects. I'm going to give you some case studies and some of the cases that I worked on as an expert. And then traveling to Europe, I'm going to be talking about flammable cladding in Scotland. And about 5 years ago, there was this huge fire in London, Grenfell Tower, and that was caused by um, incompatible cladding that wasn't fire resistant. So I'll be talking about the cladding in Scotland, which is a problem. Then after that, senior safety, LA wildfires, and then a couple of other topics I'm throwing in. Decided to I got requests. So a lot of you guys actually work in on construction projects, so I decided to do a separate webinar on change orders. Change orders is additional costs on a construction project. So I'll be delving into what constitutes a change order, how is a change order comprised of, how is the change order priced and all that. And then another, I think, is very important webinar on punch list inspections, why the need for it, how is it done, who's involved, who actually is supposed to do it, and those kind of things. And then I want to let you know that I was in LA for about maybe 3 to 4 months or so. I don't know, seems like a long time, but um, part of what I was doing was gathering information for a book that I wrote. I wrote two books on the LA wildfires, and then the last book was Rebuilding LA, and that book is actually out now, and of course it's available on Amazon, but I'm willing to give it away free. So if you want the book, reach out to us. We'll give you the QR code and you can um, download the book. Okay, so that's what I have to say about that. Our website is askbuildingexpert.now.site. It's every day we're actually updating it. I have a whole team that works on that site is so huge, kind of hard to keep track of, but there's a lot of moving parts. And Martin started building it, and now it's like out of control. They got so many parts to it. It's we got like 5 or 6 different people working on it at different stages. But you go to our website, you can take a look at our webinars that we've given, watch a few if you want, share it with other people. We also have expert websites. So there's a separate website that I've created for each topic, like asphalt, um, waterproofing, painting, contractor licensing. I got a couple on the Lahaina fire, got some on fire life safety, roofing, almost every type of construction project. We have a separate website, concrete spalling, things like that. And then we have a lot of blogs that I've written. Feel free to share it. I mean, there's valuable information there. And then webinars, as I mentioned before, uh, help yourself to it. Copy it if you want and save it, or go to our website. And then books. There's a bunch of free books. Lahaina wildfire, concrete spalling, monster houses, how safe is your building, cast iron drain piping, asphalt reconstruction, um, why hire a construction manager. It's all there for free. And then there's additional websites that I got. A condo expert website that is available, and just check it out. There's a lot of stuff there. So now it's the Q&A time. So you got questions, we got answers. If you need to reach out to me, my phone number is 808-754-3425. But don't don't text me like 100 photos of stuff you want me to look at, because it'll clog up my text. And email lanceluke@hawaiibuildingexpert.com. So without any more delay, I'm gonna reach out to Martin and see if we got any questions from our audience here. And once again, thank you for joining us. I know that we got people that try to attend frequently, and we appreciate that, like Paula and Linda. Um, I know you guys are on all the time. I guess, Martin, I guess you're trying to win the prize, right, for the most webinars attended. We got to come up with some kind of prize. Uh, anyway, what kind of questions you got?
Well, Lance, you did a good job, and we've got a few good questions. So let me get to them right now. The first one is, what is the recommended frequency for cleaning different types of vents in the home?
A good question. How many of you even clean vents from when you bought your house, or when you moved in, or when was the last time you cleaned it? And I'm not talking about just cleaning the grill, the cover, right? I'm talking about the whole vent. And what I do is I clean the cover, and then I get a ladder and I take my little vacuum, and we got, those huge vacuums. I don't use those. We use the small little shark type vacuums that are, easy to lift. And I put the vacuum on a ladder, and I use the hose, and I, vacuum up what I can.
Mm.
And you got to do that every so often, 6 months, a year. I would say don't go longer than 1 to 2 years. At least check it and um, see. So your bathroom vent, your kitchen vent, and then your dryer. Your dryer vent is very important too, because of the fire hazard. Your dryer vent's important. Your bathroom vent, um, if it's clogged, right, then it's not gonna take the high humidity, the air outside, and then that's when a lot of mold and stuff could be growing on your walls because you don't have enough ventilation. Okay, so at least every year have it inspected. And now keep in mind that find out where your vent goes to, where it terminates. If you have a dryer vent, bathroom vent, and you have a house with an attic, right? Does it just blow into the attic? Or does it go all the way to the roof? And if you go look at your roof, there's a little hatch atop your roof where the hot air comes out of, right? So pay attention to these things and make sure that you have it clean, um, so that it doesn't clog up. So I guess use your common sense, use your discretion. If you have a house that's like more than 1 story, 2 or 3 stories, and you have a vent that terminates on your roof, you may not want to climb on your roof to go check it out or clean it. So in that case, hire a vent cleaning company, to help you. Okay, so that's my suggestion.
Okay, good answer. And you mentioned about mold, yeah, as far as some of that being I know that's a big problem nowadays with homes and things getting the mold. So you're saying with the moisture in those vents, some of the vents can also cause cause some problems,
So
cause
what
problems.
happens is, if your vent's clogged, then so let's say you have a bathroom vent, you have no windows, and your vents clog. Okay, what that means is it's like if you have your vent cover, and let's say you cut a piece of cardboard and you taped it to your vent cover. Now there's no air being sucked out of your bathroom. You got super high humidity, and if there's no airflow, the super high humidity can cause mold to grow, and that's the problem. Okay, so if you've seen like I've seen a lot of like apartment building units, condo units where um, their vent fan doesn't even work, right? Somehow it stopped working and they don't care. Every time they go in and use the facilities and turn the hot water on, it's creating high humidity. So they take a bath, take a shower, high humidity, and then you see these little black specks growing either on the ceiling above the shower or the shower wall or the bathroom wall, and it starts getting bigger and bigger. That's all mold growth because of the humidity issue, right? So
Mhm.
you got to watch out for that. And we don't know what kind of mold it is. It could be toxic mold that if you breathe it, you could run into serious health problems. So just that's a heads up. Just you don't want that condition. So be sure that your fan is working. When your fan doesn't work, then uh, replace it, right? Because you need the ventilation. It's not there just for decoration, right? Sometimes they have this combination fan light. The fan burns out, doesn't work, but the light still goes on. So people think, oh, it must be working, right? But the older models, you can hear the fan. You can hear it rattling, or it sounds like if it sounds like a 747 at the airport taking off, then maybe it's time to change it, replace it. Or you hear bearings, scraping sound or whatever. Yeah, that's not a good sign. That's like a red flag. Gotta have somebody fix it, or I mean, just have somebody replace it. If it's so old, if your exhaust fan is 10, 15 years old or older and it starts rattling, making noises that you never heard before, um, I would say don't even repair it. Just have somebody replace it. Put in a new one because the newer models are more efficient. They're actually quieter and they draw more air, more power. Okay, so that's some good words of advice there.
No, very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next question that's come up here is how can we tell if our vents are not functioning? You were mentioning about not working out properly or need urgent cleaning.
Okay. So if you don't know, you turn your switch on, and then you can take a piece of toilet paper and put it where your vent cover is. And if the toilet paper is still there, then the vent is working, is sucking. But if it just falls to the ground, then either your vent's not working or it's not working properly. And that's normally the test. Sometimes you can't really tell if it's working or not working, right? So um, if it doesn't work, replace it, right? Or if it makes noise, rattling noises or scraping sounds, or you feel that it's just not working. So it could be the case where it's working, but it's not really drawing that much air. It's maybe working at 50%, then that's not good, right? Um, or it could be working, but your whole vent chase is clogged, right? So even if your fan's working, it's just not able to work because your vent holes or your whole vent system is clogged. Okay, so make sure you call somebody to check it out. And this is a health and safety issue. It's not just like if it looks good or it's working. So very important. A lot of people just forget about your vent system, but that's why I'm doing this webinar to let you know that it's an important issue. You don't want you don't want to be breathing bad air, or you don't want a fire to start because you didn't check your vent system.
Okay, thank you. The next one is kind of following along there. What are the most common warning signs of potential fire hazards related to dryer vents?
If your dryer is overheating, it could be a sign that your vent is clogged. Um, you could you could feel your dryer, to the touch. Of course, it's all metal, so it's going to be hot, but if you feel it and it's like super hot and your clothes isn't getting dry, something's either wrong with your dryer or your vent. And what we do is we pull the dryer out and we check the vent holes, and sometimes it's not clogged, but the hose is bent and it's not letting the hot air out, right? The hot air is just backing up into the dryer. So pull it out, check the hose, inspect it, see if it's like not bent, clogged, there's no holes in it. I've seen some situations where rats were gnawing on the hose and you got big holes there, and rats were living in the hose because it was nice and warm when you turn the dryer on. So um, that's not good situation. So just inspect it. If you need help, have somebody help you, pull the dryer out where someone can walk behind it to go look at the, vent system and things like that. This is all, safety precautions, and it doesn't take too long to check it out, but you should do it.
Okay, thank you. Next question that's come up here is, are there specific building codes or regulations we need to follow for vent cleaning and maintenance?
On commercial buildings, yes, but it mainly applies to your kitchen and bathroom. But I would leave it up to your condo association to um, talk to the vent cleaning companies and ask them, give me some information on when I should be cleaning. What's the codes on this, and also how much do you charge? And it's always good to get information from the contractors, from the vendors, because of course they want to make money, but part of their job is to educate also, right? So you can't just get jobs without educating people. They need to know like why, what they're gonna do, what's the reason for it, how often they should do it. Um, they'd be willing to give you a good price to be on contract, so they know that every so often, every 6 months or a year, they're gonna go to the building and they know what to do. They're familiar with the building, they know how to get up on the roof, they know the vent system design and things like that. So those are always good things to check out, and just be active on it and be proactive.
Okay, well, you mentioned about commercial, all those commercial requirements. Anything for residential side as far as codes or regs to as far as cleaning and maintenance?
Well, for the most part, the building department doesn't go inspect single family houses
Hmm.
that are already built unless there's a complaint. Or you applied for a permit and you're doing renovation or an addition or something like that. So they're not they're not enforcing anything, although the code is there for proper maintenance. The fire code is there too, but until there's a fire, nobody's investigating anything. But when there's a fire, it's too late already. And I don't like to see reports of, oh yeah, there was a fire, and then the fire department report said the fire was caused by a clogged dryer vent. Then I'm thinking, you know what, these fires could have been prevented if somebody, you know, cleaned the vent and it didn't back up with lint and the dryer didn't overheat. So there's situations where it could have been prevented, right? So when I hear stories about fires and things like that that could have been prevented, that's when I get a bit irritated, like, it should never have happened. It's like a balcony that collapse because of concrete spalling and corrosion. Those kind of things shouldn't have happened because the building should have been maintained properly, right? So anyway, that's my message.
Okay. No, that makes sense. It really comes down to owner responsibility and I guess pride of ownership or whatever to take care of the maintenance and cleaning and all that. Like most, yeah. So
Hmm.
okay. Sounds good. And we have one more here, one more question. We still get time, yeah. Okay. Uh, what are the best tools or professional services for effective vent cleaning or for larger condo buildings?
Well, I would say, like I mentioned before, these companies that do vent cleaning, they have their own specialized equipment. They have high-powered vacuum cleaners that are not your usual ones that you use at home, because when you're talking linear feet of venting that they have to vacuum, they have to be sure that the equipment is powerful enough to, suck up all the lint and stuff from many floors below if they're working on the roof, right? So they have specialized equipment that they use. You know, I don't see a homeowner who owns a house going there and buying, thousands of dollars of that kind of equipment. And it's probably better to just hire a company that knows what they're doing and pay the money, instead of trying to do it yourself or trying to not do it, right? So, um, and then also be aware of, like, not only your own house where you live or condo building or hotel, where you go. If you go to the restaurants, whether they're in a hotel or a freestanding building or uh, a fast food place, if you go to use the restroom, so, make sure that things work, right? The ventilation works, it's not clogged. I don't know how many times I go Chinese restaurant, I go in the restroom and the vent's either not working or the thing's so clogged with lint that I'm thinking, what else could be wrong here? So, but I'm not the health inspector or anything, but these things I see all the time, right? And from vents that are clogged that don't work or they need cleaning to um, floors that are too slippery because when they clean it, they don't clean their mop and it's just full of like this thin grease film. And I'm just thinking someone could get hurt and these people aren't paying attention. So anyway, the word, if you didn't learn anything, just try to be safe in what you do. And you probably did. Oh, Martin, I see that there's a Q&A here. Um,
Oh, yeah.
was there any question over there?
No. Well, you can see it. It was just kind of a question about,
Oh, okay, that they couldn't see me.
yeah,
Oh,
we
hopefully you
saw
can
you.
see me now. But
Yeah.
if you didn't see me, hopefully you could hear me, right? Maybe I clicked the wrong button. I don't know what happened. So anyway, I appreciate you guys attending our webinar and keep attending and sign up for the next one. Also, if you have any questions or comments or have suggestions about other webinars, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to consider that. Like I mentioned, we have a whole team of people behind the scenes that help put all this stuff together. Um, what you see here is Martin and I is just us talking, about the subject. There's a lot of behind the scenes research and putting together of the actual PowerPoints and researching information and putting the notices on our website and also on social media. So every webinar we promote it via social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I don't know where else, but we try to get the message out because we're here to help people. We're here to save lives and protect your building and keep you guys safe. So hopefully we'll see you at the next one. And thank you for tuning in. Until then, thank you and see you again. Bye. Aloha.